Hello and welcome to the Flock Podcast, which is a little bit of everything brought to you by the Flocking Network. Tonight we have a very special guest. We have OG Paul. And we're going to talk about all sorts of random shit tonight. Are you here? Are
As
you ready
we
for
so
this?
often do. You're gonna have to read me comments because my eyes are terrible.
Everybody's just saying hey. Everybody's just saying hey right now. I will. I'll pop them up on the screen though, because I know you're on your phone, right? So it's tiny, tiny, tiny.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Everybody's just
Anyway,
saying what. So we brought you on the live because you and we have a lot of like late night conversations, right? And sometimes they go a bunch of different places, and we never really know where they're going to end up. But this started out as I had a question about baking soda, right? And I was like, why is baking soda like the be all end all for everything? Like if you have
well,
an ailment, it's baking soda. Oh, you
it
need to like
has
clean your fridge out? Baking soda. You want to scrub your fucking sink and declog your drains? Baking soda.
it has so many different uses. I'm like, okay, I was with you there. I was like, all right, what's going on with baking soda? Random topic. Um, that led into why are there so many mattress stores? Why can you see like two and why is it like Starbucks? Why are there like five on every corner?
Well, and
And
I think it started off too because I was like, because I think everybody agrees that all mattress stores are just a money laundering front at this point because everybody's buying a mattress on Amazon. It's coming in the box and you got to cut the plastic and watch it expand, right? That's what we're doing now. Okay,
yep.
we're not going to the store and buying the mattress. When's the last time you saw somebody in a mattress store with and then went home with a mattress?
Nope. Okay. I had a couple questions related to that. This is four questions. I want everybody listening, think about this. How many of you have purchased a mattress from a mattress store? Second, do you know anyone who has? Third, do you have any general memory of seeing people walk out of a mattress store with a mattress? And then the fourth one is more general, but like, you know how you see Lowe's and Home Depot trucks all over the like they're always delivering shit. Do you ever see a mattress store truck? Anyway,
So I can't really. Oh my God, this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. I know that if Bob is watching this YouTube right now or the TikTok, he's having a fit to himself. Okay, because I had a habit for a while of living like a gypsy, right? And
oh,
you know this story.
yes.
And so what does Alex say? I got one of five in my area and it doesn't even have a parking lot. Perfect. Perfect. The delivery and it takes mine. But so I lived like a gypsy for a while and it was always like wherever I moved to, I always brought a mattress with me, right? Like I had a mattress. And then whatever hit the fan, right? Shit hit the fan. I had to ball because I'm just peace. I'm just splitting, right? You're getting a note while you're at work and everything's fucking cleaned out of the house. Okay.
Dear John.
You're right. That's the story for another live. But I always left the mattress, right? Because I couldn't ever take the mattress with me. So I think Bob is single-handedly keeping mattress stores in business because of me. I can honestly say I've probably gone through about 12 mattresses in my life.
Okay, so you're the sole exclusion
I,
of the people I know who have purchased more than one mattress from probably a mattress store.
yeah. So
Anyway,
that's the mattress saga. No more
but
buying mattresses.
before we get ahead of ourselves, to address the
Yep.
baking soda, I did look into baking soda, and you know, I was hoping for some kind of like crazy thing to find. I guess first of all, should we back up and say everything we're talking about tonight is
Oh
in
yeah,
the
where's our disclaimer?
this is intended to be fun. Like, put on your fucking tinfoil hat. Excuse me, can I swear on this one? I don't
Yes.
remember.
Yes,
Okay.
you can.
Put on your tinfoil hat and just walk into my brain for a moment. I think that's probably where we're going to end up going. But baking soda, I was hoping for something, you know, salacious or anything, but ultimately it just looks like a salt byproduct that some company happened to monopolize, which is Arm& Hammer, which is part of a bigger conglomerate, which probably has some nefarious ties, but ultimately it just seems like very useful salt byproduct or something. So unfortunately, not a whole lot to go into there. However, this is another thing we talked about within the illegal drug market. You know how baking soda is often used to cut product, whatnot. Like,
Right. Well, and they have a whole song about it. Baking soda. I got baking soda.
if you wanted to transport tons and tons of cocaine, wouldn't you put it in a baking soda bag and say, "Hey, this is just my shipment to fucking Europe for today"? I don't know.
Bob has entered the TikTok chat. We were just talking about mattress purchases. We were just talking about mattress purchases. Bob, how many mattresses have you bought? But yeah, baking soda though. So yeah, like to smuggle drugs and cover up everything. It's baking soda.
And the fact that essentially one company has a monopoly on it is, interesting to say the least. But it does have a lot of uses, and they're all practical. So I think, and I did trace it back. It was created in Germany, but in the 1700s. So it's not like it has any, ties to anything, recent or whatnot. So yeah, ultimately a dead end there as far as fun stuff. But
it's still like, why is it so magical though? Like, why does baking soda do everything? Like, oh, you need to like scrub your shoes back white, baking soda. You want to clean your teeth, baking soda. You want to scrub baking soda. Cook,
you want your
cook with it. You
you
bake
want your
with it.
fridge to you want your
Yeah,
fridge to stop smelling like fish or whatever the fuck you put in there. Baking soda.
baking soda. What's the answer? Baking soda. Baking soda is the answer. Okay, so back to mattresses.
Anyway, so then, okay, let's go down this one. As we talked about, and this is not new. Like you can go online, you can find like money laundering and mattress stores is like it's a conspiracy. It's out there. It's definitely been talked about.
We're not alone
But
in this.
no. But so here's some just numbers. Oh. Can you pull up the one that looks like a little graph?
Yes, I can. I made you your own little folder on here.
What?
Share screen.
Anyway, so
Okay.
here, let me walk you through where I'm starting. Like, I'm looking at everything as it sits today. Like, why are there still so many stores today? So this is retail in the mattress market as of 2019. So if you scroll in, I mean, it's a lot of all the normal people we see, Amazon, Walmart. Ultimately, what I
Mattress
that okay, there's where I'm going. So when it comes down to a specific specialty retailer and one of the places you see specific mattress stores, it's basically just Mattress Firm in the top 20 or whatever. So that's the one I focused my research on.
Oh, look, Bob's
But
Discount Furniture.
Rebecca, there's your mattresses right there.
Bob, did you open up a mattress store with all those extra mattresses and didn't tell me? Is this what's happening?
But anyway, okay, so point of that was Mattress Firm is the one that's really the only specialty retailer with retail stores still out there. One thing I thought was interesting though is that their revenue, as far as this goes, it's like just under Walmart and just under Amazon, and almost like just enough to stay. I don't know. It's weird.
It's also 3108.
Oh, I did not notice that, but you did. Oh.
Yeah, just throwing that out there. Since when does William and Sonoma sell mattresses?
Who knows? Anyway, I mean, you can pull that down, but
Okay, we're done with this.
Anyway, so yeah, Mattress Firm. So with them, they have 2,400 stores across 49 states, which averages about 49 stores per state. So that's a lot. And then I started looking into just that company. So I guess here we go. On their website, they say they've been in business for 90 years, but that's a total stretch because They were actually founded in the 80s. So what they're doing is counting all the companies they've acquired over the years and how long they've been in business and pulling that into their history, basically retconning history. But
So Mattress Firm has bought up all of the other small independent mattress, like mom and pop mattress stores at this
yeah,
point.
so this, yeah, here we go. Like they were founded in the 80s, but through this period between 2014 and 2016, they literally bought up every single competitor in the United States. Sleep Train, Sleep Country USA. There was a company called Sleepy's on the East Coast I'm not familiar with, but pretty much every company that sold mattresses they bought in that 2 year period between 2014 and 2016. And I went and looked at how much that cost. It was close to like $2 billion that they expended. And the interesting part about this is in 2006, so like the late 2000s, the company was in a scandal for essentially like a real estate pay for play type of thing where all the places where stores were going up, the real estate agents and the developers were like marking stuff up and throwing kickbacks to executives, and that got found out. So they were in kind of financial turmoil, and then all of a sudden they come up with $2 billion to buy all these competitors. And I looked into the fight, so naturally I'm like, where the fucking money come from?
Right?
So
Follow the money.
the very first one was cash and stock. That was, but then everyone after that was essentially it seems like Barclays International or Barclays keeps coming up as one of the main backers or principal financiers of these acquisitions. So put a pin in Barclays because that'll come up later.
Okay.
But anyway, so that happened, and this. Okay, so here's where I'll do the service to the other side to debunk the conspiracy. Like, why are there so many stores all around? Well, between 2014 and 16, when they bought all the competitors, by the end of 2016, all the stores had been rebranded into Mattress Firm. So even if there were competing stores in the same area, like they are now all branded the same. So you have that general, because we're not all buying mattresses every day. Like we only have this as a general perception of like driving through business areas and like, oh, there's whatever. So you can make the argument that because they bought all their competitors, in their defense, they have also closed over 1,500 stores in that period. So it's not like they keep expanding stores. But so there's one explanation. Second explanation, apparently one of these stores in a strip mall situation only needs to sell 20 mattresses a month to be able to be basically self-sustaining, because the markup on mattresses is over 50%. But that's another thing that goes back to why is the markup so large and where does the money go? No bark.
So it's over a 50% profit on mattresses, and they have to sell over 20 mattresses a month to stay in business physically out of their store.
That's one of the arguments on why there are so many stores, and they say, it's this gets into like business strategy and logic. Like certain people will make the argument that there's enough market for there to be more stores than you actually see, but the clustering of them could be an issue. Whatever, I think it's all bullshit. I'm just telling you what the arguments from the other side would be.
Who's buying 20 mattresses a month? Like I find that like, okay, even if like what going back off of what Shitmess said, okay, every 5 to 7 years you're supposed to get a new mattress. So you're telling me with 5 locations in one town, let's just throw random numbers out there, that you consistently have 20 customers coming in a month to buy a mattress? I find those numbers hard to believe.
I'm just telling you the logic for why there may be stores.
Okay.
To
Goose.
I know. I didn't know if I was supposed
Static
to.
And noise, yeah.
Goose. Yes, here we go. Who owns Mattress Firm? So the current owner of Mattress Firm is a company called Steinhoff International. And this is a company based jointly out of Germany and South Africa. It was founded by a guy named Bruno Steinhoff in 1963, might be 64. I don't know. Long story short, this guy was clearly age appropriate to be the son of somebody who had influence during the war. Anyway, so as far as Steinhoff is concerned, here's some timeline overlaps. In 2015, Steinhoff had a huge accounting scandal go down where their CEO and the founder were essentially, basically what they were doing was they had third-party entities created which they were marking up revenue, inflating profits, and funneling money to themselves in offshore accounts. And this became found out in 2015. But then through the course of this in 2016, they were somehow able to acquire Mattress Firm at the end of their 2-year acquisition period of all the competitors in the United States. And this is, so I told you to put a pin in Barclays. So as far as Steinhoff and their offshore accounting, their CEO had a company called, these are irrelevant, but I just wrote it down. Danesford Investments was the CEO's, and the Marksman Trust was Steinhoff's. And essentially, they were funneling money into these offshore accounts from the overmarked profits from the Steinhoff group. And then they got found out, and it resulted in they lost 90% of their value, like a $200 billion write-down. So this is the only part where I can really see where money disappears. Like, there was a massive amount inflated that got written down through, bankruptcies or write-downs. And so I guess I'm all over the place, but timeline-wise, they bought Mattress Firm in 2016, right in the middle of this whole scandal. And then in 2018, they filed bankruptcy. Mattress Firm filed bankruptcy. So I think that they bought Mattress Firm as a way to hide some of the losses or to hide some of the wherever the fucking money went. They bought them after financing them to buy all the competitors to then essentially make it a loss leader and be able to file bankruptcy and hide some of their money. So does that make sense? Am I
It
kind of
does.
all over?
It does, and it's sketchy as fuck. So Static and Noise has a question. I've always heard that they were a covered actually transporting drugs in the mattresses. Have you heard that, Paul? Also, where does the stock come from?
I mean, I've heard that separately. It didn't come up in what I was looking at here. Where does the stock come from? Are you talking like the value of the company?
Like, where does the
Oh,
I don't know if it's the stock of the company or like the stock, like actually the mattresses. Like, do they got a warehouse in the back? Like, if 20 people a month came in and bought mattresses, we know they're not buying the fucking floor models that everybody lays on, right? So do they have like a whole inventory in the back? Like, is that what you mean by, is that where the stock is coming from? Or
no,
are we
that
talking
goes
stock
into
like,
logistics. That goes into logistics. They keep their stuff offsite. Yes, they warehouse. I mean, that's like any mattress store, like a More Furniture and IKEA. Like, not everything's at the store you're looking at. They have storage offsite. But here's my takeaway. Like, okay, well, this is on the business side of things. I really think that this is my personal takeaway. I don't think it's a current money laundering operation. I think what you're going to see, hey, no bark. I think what you're going to see over the course of the next couple of years is a lot of these stores shutting down, because I think it was a one-time shot to hide as much as possible. And what we see as far as the amount of stores is kind of residual right now, and it will eventually taper off. I could be wrong. And again, all of this is speculation. All of this is speculation.
so the mattresses. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if it, so that was one of the things, I don't know if you missed it, Chaotic, but when we were talking earlier, like you don't even really see trucks. Like you
No,
don't even see mattress firm trucks. It's not like people are getting, it's not like these trucks are out and about and they're like delivering shit. Like even out here in East Bejesus nowhere, right? Like I still see there's Lowe's delivery trucks.
they're
Like
all the time. I see
yeah,
Lowe's all
like
the time. Home
Amazon.
Depots, yeah,
Yeah, Amazon
Amazon.
comes up my driveway, but I have yet to see. Now we do have a mattress firm in Richmond. I believe so. I think it's a mattress firm. I have yet to see any like truck deliveries. I've never seen anybody like you see everybody with Christmas trees fucking strapped to their cars, right? And like trying to weave shit through their windows and stuff to get it to stay, but you don't ever see nobody driving home with a brand new mattress.
Nope. Okay,
Went
so
on a
that kind of
went on a whole ass road trip. You want to know what I didn't see? I never saw a brand new mattress. I mean, unless they're in like a moving truck or something. But yeah, I didn't. I didn't.
well, that kind of ties up the business side, but this is the other route I went down and why Nazi was in the title. So Bruno Steinhoff, the guy who started this company, who is he? Ultimately, I was not able to find any fucking information about who this guy's parents were or where the hell he came from other than the city he was born in. Like, I even went so far as like looking for German census information to try and tie like, I know his name, so time he was around, like when did they do? I found a 1938 German census microfilm number that theoretically would have the information, but I couldn't find a place to search the microfilm for the census.
Is this the
So
guy?
no, no, no. Bruno, the one named Bruno.
You didn't title any of them, so
Yeah, I did.
oh, you did.
Well, the pictures are titled. You just didn't save them.
Oh. Well, hold on a second. No, they're not titled. Are they titled?
The
They
one
are
that
not
looks like
titled.
the most current old guy. Does that make
The
sense?
most current old guy. This one?
No, but that's it's okay.
Listen, we're gonna figure this out, all right? The most current old guy. All right, we got one more here that I gotta try. Process of elimination. We're gonna get this one way or another. Jesus Christ. Is it this one?
There you go. There
Hey.
you go. Okay, so anyway, that's Bruno Steinhoff. He's the guy who started the Steinhoff company. But he's the one I can't find literally like he's a dead end as far as where he came from or who his family is. But here's some interesting things to know about how he started his company. Um, his entire business model was purchasing cheap furniture from communist East Germany and selling it for huge profits in Western Europe. And this to me, so back again to all my speculation and all this is allegedly, just put on your tinfoil hat for me. Um, you don't do business in communist East Germany unless you have connections within the communist power structure. That's my assumption.
Kind of like like you gotta know people in
Correct.
order to do
So
business.
with that implication, that's where I started like trying to find more about his family and like where he came from, because he's the age where he could be the child of, somebody from that age. So since I couldn't find anything on his family, I started just looking his last name, related to the Nazi Party, and there's three very notable Nazi figures with his same last name. And just for sake of having a conversation, I thought it'd be fun to go over what I found on them because
Yeah.
it's very interesting.
Okay.
But first of all, let me also preface this with my personal opinion is I'm not necessarily certain that the Nazis lost World War II. I think Germany lost World War II, and the Nazis essentially infiltrated every world power after that. NASA was started after that. The CIA was started after that. FBI, And it's the same in Europe. CERN is very closely associated with that. It's essentially the European version of NASA. Um, Chaotic, if you're still here, I know you probably have similar thoughts on this stuff.
Well, there's like this whole thing that goes into Nazis too. And I know a while back I did research on Angela Merkel, who's the chancellor of Germany, who's
Mm-hmm.
Hitler's daughter. Like that's a whole other rabbit hole all in itself. But yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm with you. Oh
Just like Barbara Bush and Aleister Crowley.
my God.
That's a different show.
It's a different show.
Anyway, okay, so with that being said, there's a couple notable. Oh, you don't have. Pull up the guy with the messed up face.
Okay, messed up face guy. That one's easy. I got that.
So first one, and I'm doing this in order of like I don't think this is actually his dad because I was trying to put facial features and like which one of these could maybe have been his dad. I don't know. But this guy, Johannes Steinhoff, he lived until 1994. Um, he was one of the most decorated fighter pilots for the Luftwaffe division of the German Air Force or whatnot during the war. And his face is all fucked up because he got blown up somewhere and it got put back together. But the reason I like this picture is because doesn't that look like your typical this is a Nazi experiment put back together kind of thing? Like
You know
I
what
know it's probably rude.
no, but you know what it reminds me of is it reminds me of that I don't know if any of you guys watch American Dad, but there's so much truth in those fucking like adult cartoons and shit like Family Guy and American Dad. Like you have to be at a certain intelligence level to understand all the fucking humor and like the snide comments and like you can't miss shit, okay? But this picture when you sent me this stuff and I was looking through it, you know what this reminds me of is the one little creepy dude that the mad German scientists piece back together. You know, the little Billy, the kid, right? And he's like a little like fucking zombie kid and he's all weak and shit. He looks like him.
But anyway, like notable, like I said, but this guy ended up becoming NATO commander after the war and was greatly credited with bringing Germany back into the fold of the Western powers. Like he rebuilt the German Air Force. He was Allied commander for NATO at some point after a bunch of other things. And one of the things they said was at the end of the war, he was part of what they called the Fighter Pilots Revolt, which turned against Hermann Göring at the end of the war, which helped the Allies win. And who knows, this could all be propaganda, but anyway, so that's one person.
Who's next?
The one dude that's like sitting next to the lady, this is kind of inconsequential. So we'll just touch on that real quick.
Okay. Lady. This one?
Yeah, so that guy, that's Hans Steinhoff, and I think he's too old to have been the dad of the Bruno guy, but it was interesting to note that here's another Steinhoff, and he was a propaganda filmmaker within the regime, and very notable, apparently, because he has his own Wikipedia page. So enough that it made a note, but that's all that there is to kind of note on that guy.
Okay.
The other one, the first guy that you pulled up that you thought was the current old guy.
The one without the hat?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this guy, his name is Frederick Steinhoff. He was a rocket scientist and a submarine captain. He was on the very first German U-boat that successfully fired a rocket out of it, which was the U-511 in 1942. And then in 1945, he was taken into custody off the coast of New York in a different German sub. Like the details on that I can find are very favorable to the U.S. side, that they surrendered. But hearing about his interrogation and whatnot, it does not necessarily sound that way. He was not very cooperative. And then he committed suicide in jail. So it sounds very much like an Epstein himself situation. But important to note, he was a rocket scientist, fairly highly, very closely tied to the upper echelon. And then his brother, the other.
I got it. This guy.
I think that was actually the same guy, but just the earlier photo. Pull up the more current looking old guy, but.
Oh, his brother. This one? Shit. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a small picture, but this guy is Ernst Steinhoff, and he lived until 1987. He was part of Operation Paperclip. I sent you a group photo that is the entire group of people that came over for Operation Paperclip, which I thought was pretty telling for the amount of people and everything. That's the Operation Paperclip scientists that came over. And anyway, so he's in the front row of that picture, but like I said, he lived way into his 80s. He was part of Von Braun's group, that started NASA doing all that other stuff. In 1979, he was inducted into the New Mexico International Space Hall of Fame. And I wrote this down. I didn't get a chance to look into it, but he's considered the father of space resource utilization as a theory for how to get to Mars, which has a lot of implications. I just didn't get a chance to look into that. But anyway, so that's kind of the end of these potential Nazi ties. But as someone connected to a lot of money disappearing, somebody connected to a large, corporation that has gone to great lengths clearly to hide his family lineage, it makes you wonder, is he just hiding money for himself, or is he hiding money for other purposes? And not to say that these old people we just talked about are still in any course of power, but if you take my concept that the Nazis never lost and just went further underground, then they still need to finance themselves somehow. And I guess that's where this all started from for me. So I probably sound crazy.
No, you don't. You never sound crazy here. I think it's super interesting that it's just everything it all circles back to this very small circle of things, right? Like Nazis or the Illuminati or the elite. It's like everything that we do ties back to that, even something as innocent as fucking mattress stores. So and fucking baking soda. Yes. So I want to talk about, it is all connected. I want to talk about this comment. So I watched this documentary on Hitler.
Nope. Don't do it.
And what? Say documentary?
Yes.
Because I say it correct and everybody makes fun of me for it.
How
do you say it?
Chat, back me up. Documentary.
Documentary.
Oh, it's like saying tattoo instead of tattoo.
It's a documentary. I don't know how you say documentary. Is that right? Documentary. Listen, anyway, I watched this thing, okay, and they were talking about a docuseries. There we go. Thank you, Purple Princess. But they were talking about Hitler, and it wasn't that Hitler was, and here's what fascinates me about this is the man was fucking brilliant. like as far as what he was researching and the things that he was looking into, and the fact that he was traveling to all of these different places to learn all of this technology, he was one of those people, much like us, who wanted to know everything. And I feel like he was manipulated, and I feel like he was forced to do things that he necessarily didn't agree with because he was already in this place of power and he had to kind of like play by the rules, right? But as far as the die Glock, like that disappeared shortly before he disappeared to Argentina. If I remember my notes correctly and my research right. Like they still haven't found that. Like they have evidence that it existed, but they still haven't found, because it's the bell, right? And it's supposed to be some like time travel machine. So like they still haven't found that. And the disappearance of both of them was very close together. And I find it really interesting. And I think that, yeah, like was the whole like Nazi party, Hitler thing, was it all terrible? All of it? Maybe not. I think that there were some things that were covered up that could have maybe been used for good, but everything was just fucking hijacked. But as far as Hitler goes, he was on the quest for knowledge. He wanted to know all of the things. And I find that very interesting that in his status and where he stood, that he
I
took
find it very, there's so much occult things that tie back to that time.
Uh-oh.
Sorry. Am I back? Can you hear me?
You're coming back. It's all okay. There we go. What happened? Here we go.
I'm back.
You're coming back. There we go. It's flashing, but it's all right.
Sorry. I don't think I can fix that.
I don't know what it is. It's fine. We'll go with it. So what were you saying before it got out?
I don't know.
I just find it interesting that he was on this quest for knowledge, despite like you don't really see.
Okay, well, I mean, there's so many things that are weird about all of it. Like the bell, that like Antarctica, the U-boats, like the occult aspect, the artifacts that they would find, like it's like there was something clearly, not like there was clearly something else in the agenda that was not or is not publicly known or reasonably well known. And I think, I don't know, I'm saying all this shit that's gonna, if I had any kind of following, I'd be canceled for all this.
That's all right, Paul. We ain't gonna cancel you here.
But it's like he was onto something. So the demonization of that entire regime, the entire time, and everything he stands for, and even bringing him into a conversation can't be talked about because it has to be demonized because he was close to something else that has nothing to do with the horrible things that he actually did. Right. And I'm not a Holocaust denier. I'm not. That was horrendous.
We're not taking away from that. I just think that it wasn't all on one like they put Hitler at the top of this thing, that he's the one that ordered all of these things and that did all this. I don't think that he was. I think there's a separation between Hitler and Nazis. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I hadn't thought about that. I always classified him with that, but no, that's an interesting.
I do. I think that there's a separation, and I think that it was the Nazis that kind of made him the scapegoat for everything. I think that they put his face. He had a way to lead people. He knew how to draw attention. He knew how to give speeches. He knew how to do all these things. But at what point do you see any other political leader traveling all over in search of like tech? Like you just don't hear about it the same way that Hitler did it. I don't know. It's interesting to me.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things not publicized anymore, but I do know there's a lot of world leaders and state secretaries of state and shit that have gone down to Antarctica, which seem to have no fucking purpose to go down there. Which
that I have questions.
Totally different topic, but
yeah, that's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother show. If Paul gets beamed up before us, I'm going to be so mad. Parts of the dog lot were found in a scrapyard in New Mexico a few years ago. Was that proven like 100% that part, like it was actually parts of it and not like a replica or something? I find that interesting. I don't know. All of this is just incredibly interesting to me. But if we want to like tie this into now, mattress stores is not on the map. But what is on the map is a lot of these names that you were going over. Like I recognize some of these, pulling up my research and stuff like that. And I know, I want to say the Steinhoff, like that name. I've seen that name before. I'd have to look back up on there if it's actually on the map.
Do you know this?
Nuts.
I found this funny. I went and did like a search for list of known Nazis, and Wikipedia has this, like database you can search, and there wasn't a single Steinhoff on their list. But then when I searched individual Steinhoffs, I found fucking 4 prominent Steinhoffs clearly associated with the Nazi Party. So like, what? Like, who's the information you find out there is totally subjective to where you find it or how you like. I don't know. That's why everything I say is subjective. Like, you can't take. I'm not trying to make a case for anything solid. Let's put that out there for sure.
We're just finding dots is all we're doing. You connect them how you want to.
Yeah.
But it is interesting though, because on that map, like the Nazis are all over, like they're involved in every single piece of that. Like you look at the secret space program, they're all over that. You look at anything to do with Antarctica, they're all over that. You look at anything to do with the moon, like they're all over that. It's like they have their hand in every single pot in the kitchen.
Let's pull on this thread. Let's take this. Let's
unravel this one, shall we?
Random stream of consciousness. So if the Ernstein, this is something that caught my mind when I said space resource utilization as a theory on how to get to Mars. So this guy being part of von Braun's rocket group, NASA and everything, if this was the father of the Steinhoff dude, the mattress guy, which ultimately by pictures I think is probably the most realistic to who could potentially be his father, like this guy would be tied up in the secret space program if it exists, which I think we all kind of agree it probably does.
It does, yeah.
Which would then require black funding, which a $200 billion write down or markup over the course of 15, 20 years would definitely help put money into a program like that, and would be another reason why you wouldn't want your family lineage to be publicized. So, did I completely lose my train of thought, or do you get where I'm going with that?
No, I'm with you.
That one was interesting to me. Father of space resource utilization as a theory for how to get to Mars. Working within NASA, being part of Operation Paperclip, that would require funding.
And I'm just curious what technology they probably got a hold of to reverse engineer. Like, I don't know, anything with resources like that. Like if you said, what was it that you wrote down that they had? It was father of space resource utilization. So to me, like right off the bat, like what resources do you have that you're like what information do you have that you're not letting out? And I know that they're big on reverse engineering and taking a whole bunch of shit apart to understand how it works. So is that what they're doing? Did they get an answer from Mars and they're like, oh fuck, now what do we do? And they're trying to figure all that out. So they need money in order to figure that out. Is that where all that money's going?
I've heard theories about money and finance, and like, we go back to that whole Donald Rumsfeld thing right before 9/11. We're missing $2.3 trillion. I heard a figure recently that since then the number's up to like 24 something trillion that's unaccounted for. Nobody talks about it. But if you talk about money and financial markets, like that should mean that our inflation should be way higher unless this money is being taken off planet to fund something else outside of where it interacts with us.
I
So
can't
that's
imagine that
another.
our dollar is worth shit in another dimension.
Well,
It's
no,
not even
no,
like
that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like to go pay for like I'm not gonna buy a space hot dog with a
so you're talking about like funding to get outside
yes, 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 yes.
of
Like
Earth.
just
Okay.
places where yes. I don't know. I'm not a
I
finance.
went
I'm
I went
I'm
the other way.
I have a basic understanding of finance. Very basic. So take anything I say with a grain of salt.
Where's my disclaimer again? I just I struggle with like, and I know that we talk about this a lot, but I struggle with space. I really do. Like, I struggle with planets. I struggle with we're spinning through a galaxy chasing a sun, but I don't know. I've been, and you've traveled all over the world too. Like, I've been to Australia and New Zealand. I didn't feel upside down at all, ever. Okay. And I struggle with the space thing. Okay. Let's play devil's advocate for a second. Let's pretend space doesn't exist and Mars is a fucking portal and it's not actually a place that you can physically travel to, right? Because we still can't get outside of the firmament or the dome or the outer energetic barrier. So then
Or the Van
what
Allen radiation belt.
right? So then what would the point like what do you think the point would be of trying to keep up this illusion? And then if we really can't, like if Mars really doesn't exist and it really is
Mm,
just a portal, like where is
mm.
all of this money and technology going into then? Like if okay, so if, are we still really exploring the ocean? Like are we trying to get through the portals there? But that's where I get stuck. Like okay, space is fake. So what are we really funding? Like what are we really doing?
If it's not space, then extraterrestrial is the lands outside the firm. Like, then we're talking flat. I mean, if it's not space, it has to be flat
It has to be
like,
flat. Someone made a comment on one of my videos because I've been talking about this recently, and someone made a comment on one of my videos, and they were like, you know, the elites are just used to conquering and taking whatever they want. Why haven't they just taken over those extra lands yet? Right? Like if we're going off of the ring map, right?
mm-hmm,
The flat earth map where there's extraterrestrial, extra land outside of it. And the first thing that came to my mind is that they're not allowed. Like they've done so many just horrible, malicious fucking things. Like I don't think that they're welcome outside of those, outside of where we're at now, outside of this firmament. I don't think that they're allowed in those extra lands and those extra territories, which is why they're keeping it hidden from all of us, because if they can't have it, then nobody else can either, type
so
of vibe.
under that thought though, where do these advanced civilizations from like the tens of like the previous advanced civilizations, where did they go? Did they go further out? Did they
Yeah, they said,
disappear?
fuck this shit. Like all these asshole people started taking shit over and they were like, well, fine then. We're just gonna go. You want this? Take it. We'll go somewhere better. And I don't believe that we're in the center. Because if we want to go through right, I mean we can go that route too, Shim. 100% we can go that route too. I don't think that so if we're going based off of like the Atlantis and like the Eye of Africa and off of all of that, right? It was the outer rings were like your merchant rings and like where all of the townspeople were, right? And where all of the activity and the storefronts happened. And then it was land, water, land, water, land, I believe. And that first ring of water was for trade, right? And ships would come in with supplies and goods and trading and things like that. And then it was their military to keep
Mm-hmm.
everything safe. And then that inner water was where all of their battleships and their military crew would stay. And then that center ring, that was the sacred land. That's where
Mm-hmm.
all of the royals stayed, right? Because they were in the
Mm-hmm.
center. It was the most protected. That's where the wells were. That's where all of the things were and where the temple of Poseidon was. So I don't think like looking at those maps, yeah, like we're stuck in this concept that we're like the center of everything and that it expands off of that. What if we're on the edge? Like we're in the merchant ring, right? And we can't get to those other ones because they've done fucked it. They pissed them off is what I think happened. Just like, okay, so if we really went to the moon and they had to leave a recording and an offering and something really did spook them off of there, it's because they're out of their league. They can't, like, that's why they were like, they can rule this and have this and not that, because they're out of their league. So they want to keep their power and keep that hidden from us so that we're not like, oh, you guys are, I mean, we know that they're assholes, but like really on a mass scale, be like, okay, yeah, fuck this shit, we're out. That's what I think.
I mean, there's nothing to say you're wrong. That's the thing. Nobody knows. Nobody effing knows. And I do think it's very arrogant of us to think that we're the center of anything.
Yeah.
Which very much fits in with human nature to think that we are the center. So
I just don't think that we're in the center of that map. Like, I understand for purposes of explaining things, it makes the most sense, right? Because that's how we've been programmed to think. But I don't think that we're in the center of that. Huh?
I said, but is it?
Yeah, but is it? Just like the true size and ratio of the continents, like that's all fucked up too.
Mm-hmm.
And where they are in relation to each other. Like I saw something the other day that if you stand on like the edge of Africa, Jesus fuck, if you stand on the edge of Alaska, like you could, there's Russia. It's like right there. It's not this massive distance that they've made us believe. Africa. I got the eye of Africa. Alaska, Africa. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, and all I just think of is that Saturday Night Live skit where I can see Russia from my house.
I don't know what you're talking about, but that's funny. Well, do you have anything that you want to end on? Do you have any closing thoughts or statements?
I think I tied it up, unless you have anything to add.
I don't. I got Dirty Dan is at training tonight. So that's why I keep checking the Tiny Psycho over here because I have no childcare right now. So keeping an eye on her. We have popcorn out right now is what we're dealing with. So it's all over the floor. So I have to go clean that mess up.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And on that note, I really appreciate you coming on, Paul. And we're definitely going to do this again because this was fun. Thank you all so much for coming and being in the chat with us. And anybody who is going to watch the replay of this, I'd also like to give a few shout outs. So we got James with Double O Music. He does all of the intro and outro music for the shows. Goose with Here to Chew Bubblegum, and our sponsor, Static and Noise. All of these can be found in the channels tab of the Flocking Network page. And also make sure you keep checking that communities tab as I add things in there from time to time. Special note is the 5th and the 7th, so of February. I believe that's next weekend. Yes. So we will not be doing a live. I am taking the weekend off. So there will be no live Here to Chew Bubblegum this Sunday. There will still be a show that's being dropped. It just won't be live. And the Tuesday night, I'm going to take the night off. I'm going to take some time for me. So just so that everybody knows, and I will drop that in my telegrams. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the clickables and stay tuned for more to come. Flock around and find out. Thank you guys.